Hello, Mr. Fry's Algebra 2. This is the 26th, and we are looking at this quadratic formula tic-tac-toe. And I'm going to do this section and this section just to get, half the problems done for you. And, I don't know. If you want to try these on your own, that's a good idea. You could write them out for some extra support. Use Desmos graphing calculator. I have one problem that I'm going to show you with Desmos because it explains it a little bit better. But anyways, without further ado, we're looking at our notes from yesterday. This formula right here, the quadratic formula from yesterday, okay? This is the formula. We have to figure out what our A, B's, and C's are in each problem. Remember doing that? I wrote that formula once again up here. This whole plus minus thing just means here at the end, we have to add what's in the square root and we have to subtract what's in the square root. We have to do, both to get both of the roots or the zeros, the x-intercepts, if you will. That's how, we get both of them. So you don't have to redo the whole stinking problem. You just have to add or subtract, that at the end, at the one of the last steps. So take a look at this first one. And this one comes from that first row. It's already set to 0. The whole first row is set to 0, so that's nice. So my A is going to be whatever is here, and I have a 1x squared. Even though I don't have a 1 here, that's a 1x squared. So that's a 1. And this is going to be a 9, and this is negative 70. I plug those numbers into my quadratic formula. And I just work it out on my calculator. And what I end up getting is I'm adding 19 and then I'm subtracting 19. That's that, adding and subtracting, doing both to get both zeros. And I get 5 and negative 14. Now, one thing you could do is you could plug that problem into Desmos. And you could see where it's going to, cross the x-axis at 5 and negative 14. What do I mean by that? Well, let me take this one and plug this one in for you. This one's, I got to show you something later, but anyways, I thought I might as well show you so you can see it. Okay, we have x squared plus 9x, and it's minus 70. So right here, so I plugged that one in, and you could see as I back it out, you can see across is right there at 5, 0, and then back here at negative 14, 0. Okay, that's what you're finding when you do these problems. Okay, let me get that one out of there. Bring this one back. This one's for later. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about if you want to use Desmos. That one was easy because it came out even. Now, when you use Desmos, these are going to be a little bit trickier where you get these, sometimes you get these decimals and, figuring out exactly what those are. Some of them are pretty tough decimals in the second half of the problems that I do. Okay, here's my A, here's my B, here's my C. Don't forget those negatives for your B's and C's. Plug it into the quadratic formula. Crank it out. You may want to pause this. And you get 5.5 and negative 1. Now, these answers, these are your answers back here. Let me circle them in red. There, I think every single time I noticed that I did these, they did the minus first, and then they did the add. They did the minus first, and then the add. So it doesn't matter the order. Just look for the pair. Okay, look for the pair of answers. And those answers are down here, somewhere. And I don't know if you're doing this at home, you're not playing tic-tac-toe, so I don't know, you're not putting X's and O's, but you are definitely going to be able to find the answers so that you know that you did them right. This next one, I got my A, my B, and my C, all positive. Plug that in there. And I got -5, so it's just going to be -5. So you would see if you put it in Desmos, it would just kind of come down and on the x-axis, and that point would be at -5. We'll just have one point there. And this one, if you looked at this one, that's just my phone ringing, and it's Mr. Miller calling. I can call him back here in a second, but I have 10x squared plus 4x plus 1, and here is my A, my B, and my C, and I just plug those into that quadratic formula, my A's, my B's, my C's. Remember, you have it from yesterday. Okay. Plug it in there. I want to pause that. Now, here's the one that I wanted to show you. What does this mean? Now, when I took the square root, I got an undefined. Calculator didn't like it. Well, the whole reason is because, put it in Desmos and see what happens. Notice that it doesn't cross the x-axis. That's what happens when it doesn't cross the x-axis. It is going to, give you just a 0. So there's no crossing of the x-axis. So that's what that means, that 0 means for that problem there. Moving on. I'm doing this column now. And I think you probably have to at least do half of them, because in class it was with partners. So, just do this half. You can do this half with me. Okay, this one. I had to add a 10 to both sides to get a 0 over here, so that I had this. Now notice I don't have just an x by itself, so I don't have a b. I have an A, I have a B, 0 for B, and I do have a C though, -2. So I plug those numbers in here. I crossed this off because I wasn't taking the square root, and I need to show you. I was really confused on this one. I was like, well, how come this is not coming out right? And then I asked a student, and the student actually pointed me in the right direction. He's like, Mr. Hunt, you got to take the square root of 48. Okay, so 48 square root of the square root of 48 and negative that divided by 12 gave me -0.58, and then the positive square root of 48 divided by 12 gave me a positive 0.58. Okay, I don't know what happened. I just forgot about the square root of 48. I just got excited. Hey, 48 divided by 12, that's 4. Gotta do the square root still. Okay, that's the story behind that one. This one, I had to subtract 7 to both sides, and so I got -13. So my A is 7, my B is -2, and my C is -13. Plug in those numbers, and I end up getting, these are these decimals that it's hard when you put it on Desmos to see exactly what those numbers are. I mean, you could hold it on that point, and it'll tell you. And you do have that going for you. So I guess it isn't that difficult. You can, once you hold it on the point on the computer screen, it'll tell you what point that is. It would say 1.51 or something like that. I rounded this one, and then 0 for the y coordinate. And then the other one, when you hold it on there, it will say -1.23 and 0 for the y. Okay? The next one, my A is 1, my B is -11, and my C is 14, because I had to add 3 to both sides to get it to set to 0. I plug it into the quadratic formula. I just crank it out, and I end up getting these two, which give me my answers, and it is on your sheet. So, and they're rounded these two are rounded to the hundredths place value. And then the last one in that group, I had to get it all over here onto the left side of the equation. So, I subtracted 30 from both sides. I added 11x to both sides. And I put it in order so I have my a, b, and c. My x squared, x, and then no x. So it's 2, 11, and negative 30. I plug that into the quadratic formula, crank it out, and I ended up getting 2 and negative 7.5, and that's one of your answers. Once again, it's backwards, though. They did the negative first and then the positive. Hopefully this helps, and if you're doing any more, good luck with the rest.